once again in my home. My name is Reverend Rick Clay, and thank you for joining me. In my last video, I spoke briefly about Jesus being a sinner, or not briefly, that's what it was about, in that he basically committed suicide by cop. Suicide being a sin, Jesus, by letting himself get caught by the Jews, sent to Pontius Pilate, crucified, suicide by cop. That's a sin. Now let me add an alternate ending to that story. Around the year 300, the Roman Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity. He had a vision before a battle and he saw a burning cross and he won the battle, so he converted to Christianity. He took that as a sign from God. Now at the time, Rome was an empire in decline. Their borders were shrinking. There were various factions. Constantine needed to unify and strengthen his empire. And he saw Christianity as a way to do that. He made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. And when he did that, he called together all the leaders of the church from various regions of the Roman Empire, got them together in the year 325 and held what was known as the Council of Nicaea. Now what they did in the Council of Nicaea was they had all these high church leaders and the Emperor Constantine, and they basically, over the course of a couple of weeks, put together what would become the Bible. Now, being that the empire was falling apart, Constantine needed a common thread to unify and tie his empire together. And with Christianity, he had that. He used Christianity to strengthen his empire, not to strengthen his hold on it, but to unify it, to give it a common thing. And for a little while it worked. Now that being said, Constantine also had his own agenda in doing so. He's trying to save his empire. I'm not in any way faulting him for that. But he picked and chose what writings and teachings he thought would best suit his needs. So not everything made it into the Bible. In fact, a lot of the writings that did not make it into the Bible were labeled heresy and ordered destroyed. And many early Christian church documents were destroyed. But not everybody followed the orders to destroy them. Some people hid documents so that they could not be destroyed. In the late 1800s, in Egypt, a couple guys that were digging for fertilizer or something found a buried clay pot. They dug it up and opened it, and inside they found a bunch of writings on papyrus. Once they were translated, it turns out that this was a missing gospel. This was the Gospel of Peter. Over the years, a couple other gospels kind of turned up through archaeology. The Gospel of Thomas, which, unlike the Gospels we know, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, the Gospel of Thomas was just basically a bunch of quotes attributed to Jesus. They found a Gospel of Mary Magdalene. They found a Gospel of Judas. So there are many Gospels that didn't necessarily jive with what Constantine was trying to do, that he ordered banned and were later found. The one I want to talk to in particular is the Gospel of Judas. This is the same Judas that betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, sold him out to the Jews, and hung himself. But according to the Gospel, things didn't quite happen that way. Now, something you need to bear in mind is the apostles did not write the Gospels. Okay, that's a very big misconception. The Gospels were written by scribes who were collecting different sayings, different writings, and they were attributing them to the apostles. They're giving credit to the apostles that comes from, and that's why they have the apostles' names on them. They weren't actually written by the apostles, with maybe the exception of John. But anyway, the Gospel of Judas. In the Gospel of Judas, Judas is portrayed as the smart kid in the class. In the Gospel of Judas, Jesus kind of has not disrespect, but looks at the apostles kind of as children because they don't really quite get it all. But Judas does. So Judas is actually the favorite apostle of Jesus. That being said, according to the gospel, Jesus pulls Judas aside one day and tells him, "Step away from the others, and I should tell you the mysteries of the kingdom, and make it possible for you to reach it, and that you will grieve a great deal." I'm reading it here. Okay, since you know I'm reading it now. "Step away from the others, and I shall tell you the mysteries of the kingdom. It is possible for you to reach it, but you will grieve a great deal. For someone else will replace you in order that the 12 may again come in completion with their God." Wow, that's kind of cool. Jesus is telling Judas, separate yourself from the other ones, and I'll tell you all the secrets about the kingdom here. But for you to get to the kingdom, you're going to have to go through a lot of grieving here. Being that Jesus needed somebody to help him with his plan, he picked Judas. He asked Judas to help him carry out what he needed to do for the sins of man. He asked Judas to help turn him over to the Jews to be crucified, because Jesus knew this needed to happen, but he knew he couldn't do it himself. Now think about the ramifications of that for a minute. That contradicts all the other Gospels. If you read the first 3 of the 4 Gospels in the Bible, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, they're all pretty much the same. In fact, a lot of scholars think that they drew on each other for inspiration. So did Judas help Jesus kill himself? According to the Gospel of Judas, he did. Look into it. It's kind of interesting. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. This is Reverend Ricky Clay. See you soon.